Europeans are not on keto and look amazing. I have just spent 3 months staying with family in France. And I have closely observed their eating habits and lifestyles. 99% of my family and friends are extremely slim and they eat from all food groups. The concept of keto, low carb or even calorie counting is so foreign to them. Small carb-based breakfasts, large lunches, dinners including fat, carbs, protein and wine are the norm. Here I am avoiding all carbs and I am the chunky one. It is literally mind-blowing and I feel so restricted without achieving the results I want. Is keto even worth it? Can I look like these Europeans without restricting carbs? They are honestly so much happier around food and I really want this food freedom. Any slim Europeans in the group who no longer do keto? I'm European and I can assure you that I look shit. In Norway we absolutely have an obesity problem. Our experts have started talking more about intermittent fasting and eating good fat. Europe is a big place with diverse eating habits. Some of us are on keto and are luckily seeing good results. But if it isn't working for you, physically or mentally, there are other ways to eat healthy. Europe is a huge continent with lots of different countries and different eating habits. Which country in Europe did you go to? They don't drive everywhere. Less processed junk food and less food overall. We have a lot of crap in our food. Beyond controlling weight. The quality of American food is a cause of much of the health problems Americans face later in life. If you are poor in America, your choices are even slimmer. It's a recipe for what we see. A system that produces unhealthy food, sells it cheap, and later on life when the effects of the diet emerge, they'll sell you the drugs and medical care to keep you sick, overweight but alive. Understand this. Make your own food and you'll live a lot longer and healthier life. Lol. I am from Europe and I often travel around different European countries and I would say that Europe is full of fat people and has an obesity problem. Europeans are getting more fat by the day. But that's because they started eating like Americans. The Mediterranean diet is catalyst here towards a healthier lifestyle. They eat less meat and more fish and shellfish. And Italians and Spanish eat a sourdough-type bread that do not spike insulin as much either. I think, if you keep exercise in check, you can eat carbs but eat whole foods and high-quality food. Quality of quantity here as well. They don't have the FDA poisoning then for corporate profits. All that's on our store shelves is shit packed with seed oils and high fructose corn syrup. That is cause in France they take 3 bites and then smoke a cigarette. They don't binge eat Cheetos in front of the telly all day. We just walk more and eat a bit less processed food, but there are plenty of obese people. I'm Spanish. I live in Luxembourg and we have keto bread at the supermarket. You don't need to avoid carbs. You're doing it because it's an effective method to lose weight. You can eat a Snickers every day and still lose weight. It's just a lot more difficult to pull it off. I've never been overseas, but I've always felt Europeans move more than Americans in general. So that helps. It's for sure the American lifestyle that's the problem. When people come from other countries, they tend to gain weight too. My best friend my senior year in high school was a German exchange student. She gained 30 pounds while she was here. I had a doctor who was Indian told me he gained 60 his first year here. It's because we hide our fat people in Europe. I have no insights that you probably haven't seen. But my husband's family is French and many of them are very slim. They don't snack as much as Americans. They naturally control portion sizes. And I know that their food is of higher quality. But I'm sure you've observed those things. Just have the carbs while you're there, but with moderation if you can. Well, yeah, I made it to 140 pounds on a high-carb diet, but I had to eat way less or I gained weight. With keto I am eating 1,800–2,000 calories and still losing weight. Not saying CICO isn't the same, but anecdotally with keto I eat more and still lose weight. By the way, I don't think you got that big by avoiding carbs. You just started keto, right? I've lived in Italy for a few years and they're all fat AF there. I did notice slimmer and fitter people in Eastern European countries. In Spain it seemed like a cigarette and a cup of espresso was breakfast, then walk about 20 miles. Before you get to dinner at about 11 p.m., then maybe dance until 3 a.m. Repeat. Dude. The euros most Americans meet are rich by comparison to working class people. Also they walk everywhere. No soda. No eating between meals. Lots of natural fat and meat. Few processed foods. Caring about food instead of shoveling it in. Bread and carbs generally as a functional accompaniment to a fairly high-fat, high-meat dairy diet. Oh yes. And as another comment reminded me, lives that include plenty of walking around, not just driving. French and Italians are special in this way as they put a lot of emphasis on the quality of food and portion control. Pasta has to be 100 grams per person. French cakes are always small. The downside is they tend to smoke like it's 1950 and drink wine like it's water. Go check out experiments and observations in our saturated fat that point to seed oils being the difference with the French. Look up the croissant diet. Have you been to the UK? And not London but other cities such as Birmingham, Bristol, Brighton or Newcastle? Then you're in for a shock. Look up Rate My Takeaway on YouTube and see the state of the UK's health. They eat one colour in 4 shades of beige. For starters, countries like France banned GMO corns. The food countries in EU have access to a wildly different to what is considered food elsewhere. So, you made an N1 family observation, and then extrapolated it to all of Europe. Believe me, Europeans eat a lot of junk. Europeans do diets incl. keto and follow protocols like if. Also, I've spent time in France as a student twice, staying with a French family. They had sweet pastry and cocoa milk for breakfast every day, lol. They just ate when they felt like it and weren't strict. Some were healthy and slim. Others weren't. Europe is a continent, not a country. We don't share a language nor eating habits. In Slovakia we're a fat nation with terrible food habits. Reason may be that in the 80s when Americans already had fast and super processed food, we still had socialism which made the food market much smaller and more simple. Also, keto may be unaffordable for people in Eastern Europe. Whole world is getting fatter. Some nations are just a bit behind but definitely catching up. You can be slim without keto. It's not like keto is the only way to be normal weight. With everything else being sure way to get fat. Maybe they don't snack all the time. Maybe they don't eat over processed foods. Maybe they walk, cycle more and drive less. There are several ways to maintain weight. Keto is just one of them. Listen to the French Paradox episode of the Maintenance Phase podcast for the ultimate deep dive into this subject. Prepare to be debunked.